I'm the person that's in charge of bringing young men back to the Democratic Party, according to Donald Trump Jr., Trump War Room, Libs of TikTok. And while none of that's actually true, every single time I saw one of y'all posting about me, I had one main thought at the top of my head. Y'all are a bunch of y'all are the ones that made it about a woman and her identity and the way that she looks. Something that y'all consistently claim the Democrats do. You don't actually give a fuck about young men. Instead, a lot of you want to talk about my weight. You're using pictures of me from about 65 pounds ago. So let me ask you this. If I lose another 65 pounds, will y'all actually raise young men's wages? Will you actually increase funding to mental health services? Or are you just gonna find another way to deflect from the fact that y'all don't actually have any policy plan to help them? Y'all can keep making this into some kind of big joke of, oh yeah, let's send her to every frat house in the country. I'm not afraid to go into frat houses or to go to college campuses or to talk to Republicans because unlike y'all, I don't think that they're all shallow assholes. I think that they're actual people who can hold a conversation, but clearly, based off the way you talk about them and the way that you treat them, you think that they're dumb as shit. Well, I actually don't. So I'm gonna continue to advocate for young men to get the policy agenda that they do deserve. And I'm gonna continue to lose weight. And then maybe when I finally do drop that next 65 pounds, we can revisit this conversation and see if you can actually stand on business. Because this time, none of you fucking did.
It's a major problem. And you know, Speaker Johnson has been talking about those
Why is Natalie Portman on Fox
folks
News
that are on Medicaid, and maybe some of those folks are the stay-at-home sons. We don't know. But I'll tell you this, leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. They did much the same thing with quiet quitting, where you can go to work and do less, and if you call it quiet quitting, it's somehow better. But Laura, I gotta tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. You know, that's a big problem. They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to have stable families. But there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash. And therein lies a big part of the problem.
I legitimately hate the Republican Party. Only the GOP can be that stupid to look at the incompetence of the Democratic Party and go hold my beer. I think it's safe to say this is not a left versus right issue. No, this is traditionalism versus pretty much everything else. Women, regardless of political affiliation, haven't the first fucking clue how to appeal to men. They know absolutely nothing. I'll explain why before we scold the collection of witless wankers we just saw. Let me explain how basic biology works. Men are home to Y chromosomes, yes, I rhyme from Daria, still funny, and hats off if you get the reference, by the way, and produce testosterone. Women, XX chromosomes, and produce estrogen. When girls go through puberty, they develop breasts and the capacity to produce offspring. When boys go through puberty, they develop dense muscle. They become aggressive, territorial, designed to protect said offspring. Men are superior to women. Size, strength, speed, and logic and rationality. This claim of women are more intelligent on average, now that's a bunch of feminist propaganda, bugger off. Men are the creators and defenders of society and civilization. Men are a required necessity for this. Women are not. Men accrue resources to signal to women they're a competent provider in order to gain access to the sexual marketplace, to engage in courtship, and to ultimately pass on their genetic material. These are biological realities and the basic foundation of civilization since the dawn of time. We call it the natural order. Why? Because adhering to biological reality is functional, a word that does not exist in the female lexicon. Then around the late 1800s or so, for some or other reason, a few really wank-headed women were suckered into pushing for this concept of equality and rights because women were oppressed or some other nonsense. Try telling that to Queen Victoria, who said, were women to unsex themselves by claiming equality with men, they would become the most hateful, heathen, and disgusting of beings and would surely perish without male protection. Looking at the current state of women today, I dare say the great Lady Vicky was right on the money. And if you think she was rough around the edges, go read what Florence Nightingale thought about women. Then Western civilization was afflicted by this bizarre concoction of Marxism spliced with drag, otherwise known as feminism, which threw a monkey wrench with all the finesse of a drunken trust fund baby into the natural order. And feminism was a laughable joke even from the damn get-go. It is what G.K. Chesterton said, 10,000 women marched through the streets of London saying, "We will not be dictated to." and then went off to become stenographers. We will not be dictated to. Women are more than just their bodies. Yeah, right. Fast forward a century later, we're drowning in the excesses of sexual liberation, and the main thing they sell is their bodies to faceless men for a price rivaling a McDonald's Happy Meal. For a very simple reason, men are superior to women in damn near every other arena, so why enter a world where they would have to compete with men? Couple that with this ludicrous nonsense of female empowerment, which, let's be real, is just state-sponsored bullshittery, a complete lack of shame, self-awareness, or any standards of decorum whatsoever, and you get the modern Western female. Which is a joke. And then they wonder why men refuse to take them seriously. There's your basic TLDR. Now, for most of human history, men had all the power, and rightfully so. With power comes responsibility. Women are not built for power. They're built for support. Reason why they say girls mature faster than boys is because girls peak mentally at the age of 14. I actually believe the reason why women can't admit they were wrong is because they would have to take accountability for what led them to being wrong in the first place. And living in a gynocracy where they've been conditioned into behaving like entitled little brats that can do no wrong, the concept of accountability is anathema to them. Either that or they would have to admit their worldview is wrong, in which case they would lose power. As akin to taking a junkie away from their high, but I digress. You see, being the supportive role and men being in the lead, and therefore saying very bluntly what they want and need, the dynamic is stable and easy to follow. Leaders lead, followers follow. However, in an effort to push this nightmarishly moronic concept called equality, which just means force, by the way, men were told they now have to listen to women. Which they did. Seemingly for multiple generations. It turns out that doesn't make any kind of fucking sense, in much the same way it doesn't make any kind of sense for a commander to ask how the troops wish to be led either. And because we live in a society where women are completely delusional and think they can do no wrong, can't add two and two together and realize, repeatedly acting like a bunch of entitled halfwits who can't take any accountability for their own behavior, might be the reason why men want nothing to do with them. Hell, it seems many of them can't even understand this basic conclusion, which again, reason why men want nothing to do with them. The reality is, women need to be told what to think and do. If you give them any free will, evidently they wind up believing all kinds of nonsense that makes no bloody sense whatsoever. See present legion of morons cranked out by the universities. There's a reason I said it's traditionalism versus everything else, because if you actually listen to what these women want, they want traditional men without being traditional women. The modern so-called conservative woman is just yesterday's progressive. They want men to carry all the burden of being a traditional man, whilst they want to keep just enough of the fail-safes of progressivism to suit them. When you ask them, what exactly do you women bring to the table for traditional men, you get this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just more feminine or feminist nonsense, ultimately. And the covert feminism in society is big, especially on the conservative side. So here's what happens, right? Women need to have feminine virtues for men to be pursuing masculine virtues, for you to say things like, well, men, what I want is for men to protect me and I want men to make money. Well, that's great. What that ends up doing is it gives you a set of privilege in society. What do men get? What do men get for doing that for you? What are we getting from women for doing that? Are we getting chaste virgins on our wedding night? No, we're not getting chaste virgins on our wedding night. Are we getting women of great virtue? No, we're not getting women of great virtue. The idea of courtly love is supposed to be done for women of great virtue. Where are they? Well, they're nowhere. And so in modernity, in society, when female conservative influencers say this, it's actually a form of covert feminism. They're saying, I want privilege in society, right? But what is it women are giving to men to get it? What? What are they giving them? Tell me.
Well, can I
please chime in here?
Yes, you can. And then James can, and I'll come to you, Sean.
No, I would love to. I love this whole thing of like, if you're a female conservative and you don't believe that men should be douchebags, that all of a sudden you're a covert feminist. Call me a feminist. I really don't give one crap one way or another, but I can tell you this. A lot of these men, these podcast hosts on the right that like to think of themselves as these big masculine men, and what am I getting out of it? I can tell you this.
There's that feminism.
All right, I believe I'm a woman of virtue,
coming
right?
out.
Yeah, there's the feminism. Oh, and then you're interrupting me too,
Didn't
which
take
is great.
long,
I let
did
you
it?
talk.
Didn't take
It's my
long,
turn.
did it?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to speak over a man?
Yeah, I don't care if you call me. I don't really care if you call me a
strong,
feminist.
independent woman.
Yeah. Yeah. You're actually interrupting me. I didn't interrupt you when you were spewing your bullshit. So now it's my turn. Okay.
You mean the truth?
Like I said before. So I believe there we go again. Piers, I'm a woman of virtue. I happen to be independently successful. I have a husband who's not only a former professional athlete, but is currently a professional baseball coach. So is he not a masculine man? I mean, I'm confused here. What's your concept of a masculine man? Mine is a man who respects me.
Yeah, that misses the point, though. Like, you're still not contending with the argument that I'm making.
What's your point?
I'm saying inside of society, right this second, right, masculinity is not only punished, but also women on the right, covert feminists on the right, are constantly and consistently talking about how they need to have privilege in society. I want men. Their version of masculinity is men who take care of us, men who protect us, men who do all of this. Those are all duties that men have towards women. Great. What are the duties that women have towards men? What are the duties that women have towards anything? What do men get out of this arrangement? What are we getting out of this arrangement? Can you tell me?
I mean, you.
Well,
as I was going to answer a second ago,
should be protectors and providers.
Hang on one second. Let Tomi
respond. Most men are born that
way.
Let
Tomi respond to that, and then I'll come to you, Jez. And then Sean, you've been waiting patiently. So
most men are born to be protectors and providers. I can't imagine my dad saying, you know what, to my mom, you know what, I'm not going to be a protector and a provider unless you do this. That's not how real men operate. Real men are protectors and providers, and they marry women who hopefully have some virtue, but also bring a lot to the table as well, that are great mothers, great wives, caretakers of the home. There's nothing wrong with being a traditional wife and mother. You're misunderstanding me if you think that I think that women should just be out doing whatever they want. I think that there are gender roles that should be respected. But I don't think a man needs to get something out of it to be a manly man, a protector, and a provider. If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Yeah, so you have nothing. So you have nothing.
But we'll discuss in a moment whether Andrew Wilson is a real man.
Piers, I offer nothing. I offer nothing.
And if that clip with Ingram is anything to go by, you evidently learned nothing either. Going straight from a Wilsonian mauling in front of an audience of hundreds of thousands of people to Ingram with not an inch of deviation away from the exact same feminist ignorance that got you your ass handed to you in the bloody first place. You know, someone with integrity or any shred of honesty even, again, words that definitely don't exist in any influencer's lexicon, would re-examine their perspective and adjust accordingly. But no, not these puppets. They have one script and they will live by the grifter's sword. Anything else is heresy. That's how you know these types have no depth or capacity for self-reflection whatsoever. They're just soulless drones. I'll get back to them in a few moments. First, this.
But here's what's happening on the right. Young women, I talk to young conservative women all the time about their lives and their goals and, you know, the things that they want. And what's happening is they can't find men who are maybe more conservative. Usually they're looking for somebody who is religious. You know, like a lot of conservative women tend to be God-loving conservatives. And they can't find a lot of young men who want to marry a working woman now. This is an actual problem that's coming up on the right. And to me, it's so sad because it's like, how did we get to the point where we're now telling young, conservative, amazing women that they're not attractive if they also work, if they choose to, let's say, do what I'm doing and what you're doing and like get their voice out there. But I'll stick with me just because I think conservatives listening to this will like the thought of another Megyn Kelly voice up and coming. Well, why wouldn't we want that? Why would we take somebody who's talented in this field and really wants to make a difference and have the messaging to her be, you're really not that valuable unless you give it up and go into the home and only have a family and only raise a family.
That moment right there epitomizes so much of what's wrong with women. Not only do they not listen to men, they don't even listen to themselves when they say something that anyone with sense would deem eyebrow-raisingly nonsensical. Notice the start. Conservative women say conservative men don't want working women. Zero thought is given to why men feel this way. No. She just carries on and says they, meaning women, will be excited by another up-and-coming Megyn Kelly. Completely ignoring the fact this will alienate men, exacerbating the very problem conservative women have in the first place. What a genius you are, Megyn. So let me get this straight. You talk to women who tell you men don't want career women, and your immediate reaction is, how does this affect us? Do you understand that kind of self-absorbed reaction is what gave rise to the women most affected meme? She even goes on to express worrying sentiment because right-wing men actually believe this because the trad mom thing has gotten so popular. I am borderline face planting into my keyboard over here thinking, it's not a trend, Dippy. It's been the staple cornerstone that's carried Western civilization on for countless centuries. Talks of overcorrection, but no discussion as to how you got here in the first place. Anna is no better either, by the way. She talks about women earning their own income, not for the sake of helping the family, no, but for independence in case something goes wrong. Married people aren't supposed to be independent. 'Tis the whole point of marriage, to become a union. If you want to be Little Miss Independent, then stay Miss. Modern women live in their own world. I swear they have zero concept of pattern recognition. At no point do they consider the perspective of men who see that independent income as a permanent get-out-of-jail-free card, a failsafe. Considering how heavily stacked the courts are in favor of women, not to mention something upward of about, 80% of divorces are initiated by women, it is mind-blowing neither of them seem to register why career women are not desired by men, and despite men openly saying so, they still seem oblivious to the fact the problem is them. These are the very kinds of conversations that drive men insane. Lahren pretty much did the same thing, blamed feminism and complains the feminization of men has mostly affected women. Why, it's almost like you can't actually be equal to men, and considering you claim to want a share of power but none of the responsibility, now that you're furnished with it, have no idea what to do with it, men are telling you to kick dust and fuck off. And again, to say this all after Andrew mopped the floor with her is mind-blowing. Doesn't exactly speak well of the media scene either, does it? Why, it's almost like it's just treated as entertainment, and these people wouldn't know self-awareness if a drop kicked them square in the face. But the lefty one at the start there, just to finish it off with this, that one is... I don't even know where to begin with that one. Never mind the fact that the only way the left can even conceptualize help is through the state, and self-determination, a trait very much desired by men, is the opposite of that. I will give her some participation points for trying to dunk on anyone to her right via hypocrisy, a value she couldn't give a calorie about. Here's where she falls flat, though. Hopefully not literally, because she'll cause earthquakes and at that she can get back up again, but anyway. Here's the thing, though. The reason why they're making fun of her has nothing to do with her, really. They're actually poking fun at the Democratic Party through her, because she's a walking avatar, well, barely, of everything they do wrong. If you've listened to her speak, I don't know why you would, it's exactly what you would expect, but anyway, much like everyone else involved here, no self-awareness, no change in any policies or worldview that lost them men in the first place, all wrapped up in a package that doesn't appeal to men at all, with a job title trying to court men back to the Democratic Party. Really, the phrase I would use to describe this ordeal would be, painfully bewildering. The entire thing is so comically retarded, it almost makes you conspiratorial about the whole thing. Take a look at the other cast we have here. Tomi Lahren, 32, no children. Megyn Kelly, 54, once divorced, 3 children all through IVF, the youngest she had at 39 years of age. Laura Ingraham, 61, single mother to 3 adopted children. These are your conservative role models, are they? Give me a frickin' break. None of these women are traditionalists. They're just disaffected liberals, early-stage feminists. You know what used to be the conservative role model for women? Their own families, not some dolled-up wankers on TV who would no doubt cheer the suffragettes as stunning and brave. Cheers for watching. Once again, I apologize for nothing.